Well, Hamas is launching its war of terror from a command center under Gaza's largest hospital. It is holding thousands of Palestinians as human shields to protect their own selfish, terror-inflicting agenda. This is the international war crime the world should be so concerned about. Independent Women's Forum fellow Dr. Qanta Ahmed joins me now. Qanta, it's great to see you. You're in Tel Aviv. You've actually been on the ground and seen some of the devastating aftermath of those October 7th murders and savagery. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I've been actually here almost 10 days now, and I came specifically to witness what I believed was a crime against humanity that was prosecuted by Hamas on the Jewish people, on the Israeli people on October 7th. It's being described worldwide as a massacre. It was much more than a massacre. It was a genocidal act. What I have seen directly being in the places of genocide, including Kibbutz Be'eri, meeting with the survivors and taking eyewitness accounts of adult survivors and children survivors. This was most definitely systematic extermination, lethal, eliminationist anti-Semitism, which is at the center of the charter of Hamas. This is at the center of what drives Islamist Jihadism. This is much more than any kind of conflict over the future of a Palestinian state or the concept of occupation. Though remember, Israel is not occupying Gaza since almost 2006. Gaza has been governed by Hamas. This has all the hallmarks of a crime against humanity. To give you a little indication of some of what I've seen, I was standing inside the autopsy room, standing alongside pathologists while they made an external examination of a body that could not be identified in Abu Kabir, which is the home of the National Institute of Forensics here in the Tel Aviv area. And the body that we're looking at had multiple methods of execution: bullet holes, knife wounds, and evidence of maceration of the legs that could be achieved with a motor vehicle driven over the person. We've also seen, and I've been shown, evidence that bodies came in to forensics with their wrists tied, not only with zip ties, as you've been hearing about in the news, but with electrical cable, like from a toaster or a hairdryer. These people were systematically exterminated in cold blood, hand to hand, with genocidal intent. Genocide does not depend on the number of people that died, that we know 1,408 people so far, I think, have died in Israel, and many thousands wounded. This was a crime against humanity, and there is enormous amounts of evidence that that was the intention. One last point, I was in a closed briefing with the IDF where we were shown a 43-minute video of raw footage of Hamas body cam, dash cam, other evidence. They clearly came with intention for systematic extermination and to document that. That indicates premeditation of genocide, and then to disseminate that documentation for maximum terror on the Jewish population. We are witnessing a genocide conducted by Islamists on the Jewish and Israeli people, in genocide which also claimed Muslim lives.
Qanta, what you say is just horrific. Tell us, I guess you're a doctor, you're experienced to seeing these scenes and these situations, but what is it like for the first responders, for the people, for those doctors and nurses and other people who have to witness these horrors? What is it like for them?
Thank you for asking. In fact, that's been some of the most devastating encounters that I've experienced. And it's not just doctors, pathologists, anthropologists, or maxillofacial experts. I also spent time talking to the Israeli police that are performing detective work and crime scene investigation. I talked to crime scene investigators in Israel that have literally solved thousands of murders over decades. and they were confronted with this. The human toll and the impact on human beings in Israel is unimaginable. Many times I'm just arriving somewhere in order to learn what I can, and as the person begins talking to me, just the tears are in every individual that's worked with this. It doesn't matter how hardened or how seasoned a police officer, a soldier, a detective, a doctor, a surgeon, a first responder is. It's a colossal bereavement, a colossal psychological trauma. And remember, we're only about 3 weeks after the event. And so we're still in acute trauma here in Israel. The post-trauma is going to begin in 1 to 3 months. I'm already noticing little children in the households where I've been staying are not able to sleep. They're missing, many of them, their parents. Also, 360,000 people have volunteered to sign up for the IDF. So many families don't have fathers and mothers now because they've gone into the war effort. So this is an enormous psychological trauma. And on top of that, we have the plight of the hostages. The hostages were taken by Hamas, by Islamist jihadists, to inflict maximum pain, taking babies, taking elderly people. The only purpose for that is to inflict continued pain and continued terror. I had to sit and listen to a very senior physician talk about how all of the country, including those in her field, were working around the clock. And she also observed that's the only place she feels she has control or safety or predictability. Leaving work and returning to home, she feels she cannot authentically reassure her own children of their safety. That is terror at work.
Qanta, what you say is just devastating, and yet as you're there in Tel Aviv right now, people are running, there are sirens going, people are running for cover. We've seen that overnight. The sheer obscenity, I don't know how you cope with it, Qanta, when you realize that when you get back to New York, you'll be confronted with students and demonstrations and politicians and people at Central Station and who knows where else, blaming the Jews for what is going on. How people can cope with that sort of vile hypocrisy is beyond me. Qanta Ahmed, stay safe, and thank you so much for speaking to us from Tel Aviv. And it is great work you do, and we'll speak to you again soon. Thank you so much for coming on Outsiders. Stay safe.